What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon466cards, and today we're going to continue talking about Beckett. In my last video, I explained why I believe Beckett will be liquidated or sold because the owner is about to go to prison again and also owes a lot of money to his creditors. And when I say a lot of money, I mean $600 million. A lot of money. So if you haven't seen the video yet, go check it out. I'll put the link in the description below. And having said that, I only dug into Beckett's ownership because of the video I actually wanted to make, which is the topic for today. And that is what needs to happen to save the Beckett brand. And so that's what we'll be talking about today. To me, there are three strategic problems to solve. The first one is a lack of trust or legitimacy and accountability, right? For a long time, there's been poor communication or non-existent communication, poor leadership and strategic choices. They bought a distributor. The previous CEO seemed like he had no idea what was going on. And there's also no trust in the brand or the slab itself. The second problem is, what's the value prop? Like, why is anybody sending their cards to BGS? There's no real good reason to send a card there, if we're just going to be totally honest. And then the third problem is, it's just, they're not relevant. Nobody cares about them. They're way down the list compared to PSA and even SGC at this point, now that SGC is part of collectors. So they need to make a splash to become relevant again. And so we're going to try, or I'm going to try and explain how I would tackle each of these three problems and the path to saving the Beckett brand and the Beckett name. And some of these things they can do, and some of the things they can't because it's out of their control, and I'll explain why. So let's start off with the first one, which is lack of trust, legitimacy, and accountability, right? So before we do that though, they are doing some good things. For example, they brought in a new BGS director, Luke Miller. That's good news, right? The previous regime was bad. And so the fact they bring in new blood, that's good. And they've started posting more and kind of communicating more and being more transparent. And they did the grading scale guarantee. All of these are good things. More communication, more transparency. This is good stuff. So I don't want to act like they haven't been trying to do some stuff, and I want to give them credit for that, right? But there's definitely more that they can do. And obviously the first one is the Beckett name, the Beckett brand has taken a beating. And like I was saying earlier, it's just lost its luster, right? And you need to reestablish legitimacy to the Beckett name and the Beckett brand. And there is a very, very easy way to do this, to really bring back the joy of the Beckett brand, the one that a lot of us had growing up as kids with the Beckett magazines, bringing it back to that era of Beckett, right? And the easy way to do that is the reason why it's called Beckett. Bring Dr. Jim Beckett back. It's the easiest way to do this. That's how you legitimize the Beckett brand, is to literally just bring back the guy who is named Beckett. There is a problem though. Most of the interviews or videos I've seen of him, he seems very comfortably retired. And I assume when he sold the company, he had a nice chunk of change. And so I don't think he has a lot of motivation to come back. And even if he were to come back, he's obviously just going to be like a figurehead, just a face of the company to give you the touchy-feelies, make you feel good about yourself when you think of the Beckett brand, right? That's what all he does. He's not actually going to do real work, right? But even then, to be the figurehead, I think the probability is very low because of all the reasons that I explained. Moving on, accountability. There's also one easy step to take to reestablish, or I guess maybe it's some might think, establish accountability with the Beckett brand. And it's something that other grading companies are doing, like PSA, and that's just get a grade and slab guarantee. That's all you need to do. PSA does it, CGC does it, like SGC sort of does it informally. Basically guarantee the value, or not the value, but the legitimacy of the cards in your slabs. And just have, if you think that you've graded cards poorly in the past, just start putting money aside so that you need to pay out the value of the cards that you need to buy back because you authenticated an inauthentic card, or you graded a card that has now that is overgraded, whatever it is, and you know that there is going to be a bucket of money that you need to save. Just start saving up now. This isn't hard to do. And that's why I'm putting the probability of this happening at medium compared to Dr. Beckett coming back very low, because I think there is a world in which this happens, especially when it becomes industry standard for the other grading companies, right? PSA does it, CGC does it, SGC sort of informally does it. So just to keep up with the competition, I think this is possible, plausible, hopefully probable, but we'll see. So that's how I would solve the lack of trust, legitimacy, and accountability problem with these two items here. One, very low probability. The other one, I think could happen. All right, now let's move on to the second problem. And that's just a poor value proposition. Why is anybody actually sending a card into Beckett? And it's just, when you compare the prices on these things, if you compare SGC, $15 a card, 5 to 10 day turnaround, Beckett, $15, no subgrades, 45 plus business days. Why would anybody do that? If you want to get the subgrades, it's $18 to get a card back in 45 plus business days, when you can get a card back from SGC in 15 or in 5 to 10 business days, right? And even PSA at $19 a card, which is only $1 more than the cost with subgrades at base, their listed turnaround time is 45 business days, but right now I think they're running around 30. And so there's no real value prop. You're not winning on price, you're not winning on speed, and you're not winning on resale value. So why would anybody send a card in, especially with SGC now running specials, depending on when you're watching this video, where they run specials for cards less than $15. There is no value proposition for someone to send a card in. Nothing on speed, nothing on value, nothing on, or when I say value, I mean in cost, and then nothing on resale value. Those are the three like pillars or reasons why you would send a card in, and Beckett loses out on all three of those things. So that's a problem. There's no reason to send a card into Beckett. So they need to fix that. And they can do that by investing in technology. Because if you invest in technology and automation, you can lower your internal cost to grade. Because if some of the steps are no longer done by a person, they're done by a computer or a machine or whatever, a scanner, that reduces the amount of manual labor you need to use to grade a card. That lowers your internal cost if you pay up front for this piece of technology. And if you lower the internal cost to grade, that enables you to lower prices, right? And when you have lower internal costs because you've invested in technology, that makes it profitable to hire more employees to increase your grading capacity, right? Now that the cost of grading has come down, you also have more money left over to hire new employees. And it's almost like a feedback loop, right? Where savings leads to more savings, and then on and on. You can lower your prices and generate more revenue, right? Like it's beneficial in multiple ways. And again, technology can help you speed up internal processes to reduce your turnaround times. And all of these are great ideas. These are also not groundbreaking ideas. Automating and using technology is pretty straightforward. The problem is it's an upfront cost that you need to pay upfront to buy or pay for whatever technology, or maybe just ongoing costs if you're doing something like SaaS, software as a service. But the problem is this costs money, and that is why the current probability of any of this stuff happening in a material way with a significant investment in technology is zero. And the reason that the probability of this happening is zero, there's no chance of this happening, is what I started off with at the beginning of the video. Beckett has an ownership problem. Their owner is in a lot of trouble and is very distracted right now. And again, I won't bore you with the details. Go to the video in the description below, but the guy's going to jail again, and he owes a lot of money to a lot of people, and he's probably not very focused on one of his 626 companies that he owns. That is not an exaggeration. That is an actual number from a lawsuit and court proceedings. He has 626 companies in his conglomerate that he owns, this huge company. And so I do believe that they will start unwinding that company in the next few years. Beckett will be put up for auction to pay back the $600 million that he owes to this company. And as a result, Michael Rubin will come by and buy it for Fanatics. He's been waiting quite a long time to do this, I would imagine. And he will swoop in and pay pennies on the dollar and do the Michael Rubin basically very advantageous moves. And no knock on him. It's a smart business move, right? This solves the second and third problem. Money solves all of these problems, right? Number two, Michael Rubin comes in, Fanatics comes in, solves that problem. We now have money to invest in technology. And then third of all, to make a splash, well, you've now been bought by Fanatics. You are now immediately hobby relevant. So that solves the third problem. The problem is, and what I was getting to before is, when will this happen? And that's where I say, I don't know. You could tell me this happens in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Any of these things are possible because from what I understand and what I've read of the previous owner, he really likes to drag his feet when things aren't going his way. And stall tactics and all sorts of stuff you'd expect from someone who has multiple federal indictments against him and charges against him, and in one case has been convicted of it twice. So until then, Beckett's going to be in limbo because you can't solve 2 of your 3 strategic problems without Michael Rubin and Fanatics coming in and buying you out. And if you can't solve 2 of your 3 problems, the only thing you can do is basically do the slab guarantee. And while that's nice, that's not going to change Beckett's fortunes. You have to wait for them to get sold. And that is basically going to ride on the whims of one Greg Lindbergh. And so that, unfortunately, is where we stand. There is a path to saving Beckett and the Beckett brand and the Beckett name, but we're still a ways away because of a guy who is about to go to prison. And how quickly his financial empire falls apart will be the thing that dictates whether or not Beckett is sold quickly or slowly over time, or if we just need to wait a long time. So that's it. That's the video. Let me know your thoughts and comments down in the comment section below. Would love to hear what you have to say. As we do sometimes on the channel, we preview the next one. Next time, we're going to get back to those SGA cards I talked about a week ago. This time, it's going to be about PWCC making a bit of an oopsie by listing cards in a way that wasn't very strategic. So I will talk about that next time. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching. I will talk to you all soon. Cheers.